Welcome back to the podcast, everyone. I have a beautiful guest with me here today. We have Stephanie Hickey. Hope I said that right. If I didn't,
You
please
did.
correct me. Cool, cool.
You did.
And I'm so excited. We're actually doing a beautiful series this next few months, probably now, on Tantra and breaking down what Tantra is so people have a better understanding. So, because it is hard, even for us to break down as Tantric coaches, it can be like a really challenging way to explain it because it's so many things. It's not just a one thing. It's almost like a principle and a philosophy that we can weave into so many different areas of our life. And actually, tantric word actually means to weave. So that's where we're just going to start. But first, welcome. Hello, Stephanie.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's a little nerve-wracking to be here talking about Tantra, but I hope that the bridge will be I feel like I'm still at the beginning, of a journey, which I imagine could like maybe bridge to somebody who's listening who is interested in Tantra but just feels like it's overwhelming. I feel like I'm in that like beginning place, even though I've now been in the world for five years. But like I do hope that it's a conversation that is helpful in that way.
I love that. 5 years in, and you still feel like you're at the beginning, right? And
Yeah,
that kind of
yeah,
summarizes Tantra, right? Like
yeah,
it's so many things all rolled up into one.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you. This is fun because this is my second recording after taking almost 2 months off
Oh wow.
podcasting.
Okay. So that is that was an intentional choice, I'm assuming.
Yes, that was an
Yes.
intentional choice. I was like, I
Yeah.
need a pause.
And how are you feeling being like, in the second recording after two
Yeah.
months off? What are you feeling right now?
Perfect. Absolutely where I should
Oh,
be, turned
oh,
on, ready to go. And I just needed that break, right? I just knew
yeah.
after, if you go back a few more episodes earlier than probably two or three ago, you'll get, the five moves in a fire episode, not too short back in 2024, right? So I've had a crazy December to March or to even till April of
Mm,
2023, 2024. So it was just needed. I had my podcast editor pull a bunch of episodes, really popular episodes, and use them again, which was great
hmm.
for March. And I was also in another Tantra training in Bali for 3.5 weeks with Mahana de Sarita, which
Yeah,
was
so that
also amazing.
I just heard that you went on and did training with her, and just this year that has been added to my like vision board. I'm like, okay,
Ah,
I'm going to do this at some point in my life. I don't know when,
yeah,
hopefully sooner than later. And so when you said that, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so interesting and like
so cool.
synchronous that you just completed that. And I mean, I have so many questions about it, but
Yeah.
so the training that I've received has all been virtual and through books, right? So like through our certification, it's we're getting the transmission through the computer and um, doing the practices with ourselves in our in our own bodies and maybe with partners. But I am so curious about that training that happens in person. And
Mm.
I imagine I have like assumptions about the level of embodiment that you would receive from being in person. And I would love to know, like, had you had training in person before? And if not, what was there a big jump? Was there a large leap? Was there like a huge
Mm.
gap filled by being in
Hmm.
person?
So,
And
such a good
also
question.
training from directly from Mananda Sarita.
Yeah. Yeah, such a good question. So I love personal retreats. I have been in personal retreats for years. That's how I started my journey back in 2017 is in person. And actually that is my calling also right now to start creating and doing more in-person retreats. That is what I want. Not fully, because I also love how I work with people in Europe and Australia and New Zealand and the
Yeah.
States. And I wouldn't be able to reach these people without this technology and the way we do it. And I've also noticed that the transmission that we can achieve even digitally, even just you and me here right now on Zoom or in a sacred sexuality practice or in a tantric practice, for me, they're one and the same,
Hmm.
um,
Yep.
is still so on point. It really is. There's something extra
Mm,
juicy that happens in between sessions when you're in person. There's something
mm,
extra juicy that happens when you need some support or you need a hug or you just need, somebody to actually really see you. That does happen, that's in person, but we can get to so much of this also online, which is beautiful. But
mm.
I personally am craving more in person. It leaves me more satisfied. I can again sense
Right.
and feel a little bit more energy and play with that. So, and I went to Bali not for another Tantra training because I'm already a Tantra teacher in so many different realms in my sex love relationship certification, also real tantric major in, tantric couples work and more couple certifications. There's so much I've done in Tantra. But I really wanted a reset for me. I wanted to go play and just dive into my tantric person
Oh,
work. Uh,
yes.
and it
Mm,
was different. It was good and bad. It had a bunch of pros and cons. It wasn't exactly what I expected it to be because you've trained under Layla as well,
yes.
as I have, and other teachers. And it was a little different. I still am glad I did it. It was amazing. And it definitely was different from what we've done. And I've also done Layla's retreats live as well. Have you ever done Layla's live retreats?
I haven't because my year graduated in 2020, or it was during 2020, and so that retreat got canceled. Then the following retreat got canceled as well. Like there was no
Um,
2021. Then 2022, I had my third daughter, had a newborn, and then last year, 2023, she was still one, and I just couldn't leave for a week yet.
Fair enough.
So here we are in 2024, and I still haven't done one. But I'm seriously considering. She just announced she's hosting the Vita Eros
Yeah, the
retreat in
couples retreat.
for couples.
Hmm.
So that one I literally just saw the
I
email
saw it
3 days
yesterday.
ago.
I saw
And
it yesterday. I'm like,
yeah, I'm like, oh,
ooh,
that's definitely on my radar. And I'm gonna have a call with the admin on Monday just to ask some more questions about it. So
beautiful.
I mean, you don't have to answer this, but what are like the expectations you had? Because given you've had some experience in person retreats, what were you expecting that what was so different about this particular reset for yourself that you were like that that was challenging?
Oh my gosh, there were so many things. We can start with 2 periods in 3 weeks. We can start with
Oh
not as
gosh.
trauma
Okay.
informed as I would have liked. I'm used to way
Okay.
more trauma informed, way more personal
Oh, yes.
choice and invitation. Um,
Yeah.
I'm used to my air conditioner not flooding my entire clothing and all my suitcases. I I'm used to not eating peanut when I'm on a vacation, which is because I'm anaphylactic. So
Yes.
there was a lot of different
Holy
things
cow.
that
Holy
went into
cow.
3.5 weeks. It was insane. And 12-hour time change is
Right.
hard,
No,
very
yeah, I can't
hard.
imagine. Yeah.
It was very hard.
Okay. So
Yeah,
that
there was a
all
lot.
very interesting. Yeah, yeah,
There's a whole
yeah.
pile more, but it would take me 2 hours to go into it all.
Sure.
Yeah, and I will say that, my own tantric trainings and my own trauma awareness and my own ways of grounding and holding myself is what held me so beautifully
Mm,
through a lot of it. But not everybody has that kind of training and
exactly.
ability. So if I'd done that retreat years ago, it probably would have blown me out completely. Um, yeah, but just depends. It just depends. And
Wow.
it also partially could have been because of my 5 months before that too, right? So
Right.
it's a
Right. Right.
combination of things. So, but it was also
Sure.
really,
It
really
always is.
good. Yeah. But I wanted to touch in and break down just even starting here, just for our audience who's like, okay, Tantra, what are we talking
Yeah.
about here? Like, what is this? I'd love to know, what is Tantra to you? Because it's
Hmm.
different to
Yeah.
so many different people.
Sure. So starting to train with Layla and 5 years ago, I had zero knowledge, nothing, didn't know anything about it. And so beginning with starting to do practices in your body that start to feel your energy. I remember at the very beginning of the training, I'm like, I don't feel anything.
Mm.
I don't know what you're talking about. And the frustration would build, but also part of the training is like, have compassion for yourself and be with what you're feeling, which is nothing. And continuing to do that over and over again, like seriously over and over again. Like there's so many practices that we do, right? On a weekly basis. And so the patience that I had to have with myself to even start to feel energy alive in my body as
Mm.
a thing um, was kind of the beginning of my understanding
I
of
want to
what
celebrate
Tantra
you for
is.
that, for
Thank
staying
you.
with it,
Staying
for
with it.
I don't feel anything. What the fuck
Yes,
are you talking about?
yes, was
And
exactly.
yes, yes. And I get that only because if we go back even earlier for me, like 2017, I also was like, I don't know. What do you
Mm,
mean? What did my body want? Like, I don't feel
right.
anything. So I get that. But I had already started to connect with my body before I did my certification with
Okay.
sex, love, and relationships in Tantra. So I get that. And that is the tantric philosophy of bringing in compassion and approval and
Yes.
presence
Yeah.
with what is. And right for you, what is or what was nada.
Nothing. So that's so beautiful. Yeah, that is exactly it. What is happening right now? Being with what is happening right now. Um, Tantra for me also it means the direction and manipulation of energy as a means to liberation,
Mm,
which is such an amazing philosophy. It's such an amazing idea because all we have is we have ourselves, our bodies. Our bodies are there for us to use in such a beautiful way. Our bodies are not, you know, broken and they're not disgusting. So being able to use them for spiritual growth, for
mm,
pleasure, um, to be able to move through difficult things. Like our bodies are the source of wisdom and knowledge. And so that's really what Tantra means to me is like being able to use our bodies for all of these things.
mm,
Um,
yeah.
and then it became, I
Trusting.
never, yes, really trusting. I'm so passionate about women getting in touch with their bodies because we're
Hmm.
so disconnected. It's infuriating. We're
Yes.
constantly being disconnected and told to be disconnected from our instincts, from our sensations,
From our
and
emotions,
our
from
emotions.
everything. So
And
that's
so
the
it's a
reconnecting.
superpower to be connected to yourself in all those ways is actually a superpower. And
Yes.
that's really, if I could, send that message out, then
Yes.
then I will feel fulfilled.
So tantric practices and philosophy and meditations, what I'm hearing, allowed you to reconnect and to actually be aware and come into presence with what was, which
Hmm.
first was numbness and nothing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then was your emotions, your body, yourself, your energy, your passion, your intuition, your
Yeah.
wisdom, all of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
And I
The
think that's
two
so
words
important.
that's it is so important. The two words that stick out to me when you reflect back are intuition and wisdom.
Mhm.
I think that is such for female for women. I think that is actually a superpower to be connected to your wisdom and to your intuition.
Which is interesting because I think we actually came into this world connected to our intuition and we came with
Exactly.
innate wisdom. Like there's things
Exactly.
that I look back now that I knew as a 4 year
Yeah.
old, as a
Yeah.
5 year old, as a 6 year old. Like there was like, pardon? That doesn't make sense. Like I
Yeah.
remember questioning things that people would say in church. I remember going,
Same.
I don't think God's going to put us in hell. Like I remember,
Oh,
right?
I was the
Questioning
7-year
these
old raising my
things
hand and like
going, I don't think that's right.
I don't.
Um,
Yeah. Could
yeah,
you
there's an
explain
innate
that?
wisdom. There's an
Yeah.
innate wisdom in there that we came with of what is right and what is wrong and what is true and what is alive and what is love and what is connection. And the world threw a whole
Yeah.
pile of different stuff at us, and
At
you know
us.
that creates trauma and levels of muck. I like to call them muck. We've got like all of these levels of
So
like
much muck.
grain and sand and muck and swamp, and this is the stuff that we actually get to clear off by using sacred sexuality and tantric practices and rituals and meditations and coaching sessions. And when we take off the muck, I find we come back to who we are.
Yes. And it's so delicious. That's like
And
the
that's the
best word I can
liberation.
use. It's so delicious.
Yes.
Before studying sacred sexuality, I was not a spiritual person.
Mm.
And I still hesitate to say that I'm not a spiritual person. Like I am, but I have had mystical spiritual experiences through these practices and through sex. And now sex and self-pleasure is definitely a sacred experience for me. And
Mm.
I haven't talked too much about that in my own, like, yeah, in my own practice, but because it's like a very intimate thing. It's a very delicate thing to talk about, and it's really hard to describe in words what I mean. I'm sure you have much
Yeah.
better practice and words to do so, but that is something that I came to through doing tantric practices, Taoist practices, and sacred sexuality practices. And
Mm-hmm.
that's like
Mm-hmm.
really exciting because that I
It's
definitely
so
feel at the
healing.
beginning of.
You said the word in there, the sacredness, and I think that's it. Through everything that I've been trained in and you've been trained in, it's bringing us back into the presence and into the sacredness that lives within our body, that lives within our energies, that lives within each of our chakras as we're going from root to womb to, or sacral technically, to solar
Hmm.
plexus, to heart, to throat, to third eye, to crown, like bringing in the sacredness, learning how to listen to the wisdom that is in each of our
Yes.
chakras as well, because there's different wisdom in each. And I find so many people, especially women, not what I'm going to say here, everybody, but especially women, get
Hmm.
very disconnected. I remember, feeling like I was a walking, talking chest up or neck up.
Yeah.
There was like, what do you mean connect to my body? What do you mean? What does my pussy want? What do you mean? What does my womb say?
Hmm.
Like, I don't know what you're talking about here,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I was so shut off, so cut off, so numb because of trauma, life, shit. That even just showing up, even if you had to say, a lot of people will say, I don't have any trauma per se. And that's okay, because just by living as a female identifying human in today's society, even as a male identifying human in today's society, we actually
Yes.
all have trauma packed on there just from being in this society that is very disconnected from the earth, from ourselves, from who we are, from our truth, from not speaking up, for not asking for what we need, for
Hmm.
people pleasing, all of these different places that we're really not connected. So back to the sacredness, it has allowed me to reconnect to the sacredness within me, the sacredness
Hmm.
within you, the sacredness that's within the divine, that's within the universe, what's in the trees and the earth and the water and the animals, all
Hmm.
of it, all of it.
Was it easier to access that sense within yourself, or was there something different about being in Bali and amongst women who were there to study the same idea, the same practices, the same being in the same energy or similar energy with other people, than comparing that to like being back in your everyday life? Was there, and if so, like how do you port that back over to everyday life?
Yeah, so I connected and surrendered and reconnected to all of that you just shared, like the being and the who I am and in my body. I did that way before I went to Bali. I did that like back in 2020, 2018,
Yeah,
2019, through those years.
yeah.
So Bali was just like, for me, the extra tantra training was just like, I need to go away and be alone and play
Okay,
in my extra tantric principles per
okay,
se. So it was
okay.
before that I connected to all of that. But the question was, how do you bring it back to society? And that took a while. I remember, like, into everyday society or into my everyday life here in
Hmm.
Kitchener Waterloo
Hmm.
per se. I remember that in 2018, I remember thinking, "Okay, so I'm over here in my
Yeah.
little bubble doing my work that I can do with sister goddesses and other women that I feel safe sharing around, and then I'm over here in my life, being a professional photographer and not talking about it." So there was definitely a divide back in 2018. I actually remember feeling like there was a division because it didn't feel fully safe for me to share, and that will also reflect upon my relationship at the time. I ended that marriage last year, and that was something that was, you know, I wasn't safe in that marriage to actually be myself. So that was
Mm,
part of the reason why I couldn't actually I was still compartmentalizing my tantric journey over here where it was safe and
mm,
okay and not bringing it into the rest. I
mhm.
did eventually in 2019 bring that into my business and into my life and how I spoke and shared on the internet and on my podcast. And my ex-husband reacted like big time badly against it. And that was, the beginning of the end, I think, where
Yes.
he
Yeah, yeah,
wasn't
yeah.
on board. But I had
Yep.
to create enough safety in my own
Yeah.
body and in my own self and in my own power that I could trust that I could hold no matter what, anything that happened, that I
Mm,
could trust myself. I had to create that within. And that's also something that Tantra has allowed me to do, right? Create that
yeah.
inner sacred, I got this no matter fucking
Yes.
what happens. If the world blows up, like I've got this.
You're such a badass queen. That's so powerful to hear.
Thank
Yes.
you. That
Yeah.
came from
Good for
Tantra.
you.
That came from
Wow.
sacred sexuality. That came from that
I believe it.
work that I have been deep into since 2017. And
Yeah.
now it's fully merged. It's fully merged into
Yeah.
my parenting. It's fully merged into my business. It's fully merged into the podcast. It's fully merged into my partnership currently that I have. It's merged into everything I do. Yeah. But
So that's like an 8 year sort of from beginning to now
it's been a
ish.
journey. It's been
Yeah.
a journey, and it's been a beautiful journey. Like, I wouldn't do it differently. It
Yeah.
has been a beautiful journey that I needed to go on.
Yeah.
And I think in the beginning, I remember thinking, I just need to do this program and I'll be like, it was a different program. It was one of the ones with Mama Gina. I just need to do this and I'll be fixed.
Mm.
And then I was looking at the women who were back again. I was looking at
Yeah.
I'm laughing now, right? I was looking
Yeah.
at the women who were back again for like their second, third, and fifth and sixth time. And I remember thinking, well, they were pretty fucked up because I had no clue and
Yeah,
didn't
it's enough.
actually see it as no, it is a journey.
It is. It just
You're on
is.
a
Yeah.
journey. It's like your
Yeah.
life. You're here from birth to death. You're on this journey. The choice in the matter is, what are you going to choose? Are you going to
Yeah.
choose to go with the crowd who's going left? I'm going right at the moment, who's going left and going
Hmm.
through the motions and not connected to themselves and not listening and unconscious, I
Yeah.
guess, right? And or are
Oh,
you going to choose
autopilot.
to pull out of that herd mentality or of all those fish going upstream mentality, or I guess downstream? Are you going to choose to turn
Yeah.
around and go the other way and actually choose you? Are you going to
Hmm.
choose you? Are you going to come home in your body? Are you going to reconnect to your truth? Are you going to live your life and speak up and speak out when you need to and not go with the flow? Right? And that is our
Yeah.
journey. And we all have to find this journey, and we're all going to find it, or we're
Yeah.
going to get to our deathbed and we're going to wish we did things differently,
Yeah.
unfortunately. And if we don't, we're going to come back and do it again
Yeah.
and
That's right.
again and again, right? Like that's the whole point.
Yeah. Hmm. Yes. Yep. That's a really great message
It's a
to get
journey.
across that it is a journey.
Mhm.
There's no destination.
So very sorry, all those women that I thought there was something really fucked up with you years
Yeah.
ago. There was nothing wrong with you. I see that now. That was my
Yeah.
own shit, and
Yeah.
projecting my own
Yeah.
shit
Yeah.
onto you. And no, it is a journey. It is a deepening process where
Mm,
I see it like a spiral, where we're just doing our work and we're living our lives and we're continually choosing us and we're choosing our truth and we're choosing connection and we're choosing intimacy and we just keep deepening and deepening and deepening and coming closer to home into who we are.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, I
Yeah.
couldn't agree more. And it sounds like you're in a phase of, well, coming back from Bali and like having that deep reset of like, need the listening to your body. What did you need? and then now calling in some more of the things that are right for you in this time of your life, which is some more in-person stuff, continuing the online stuff. But I think there's a
Mhm.
lot of people craving in-person stuff again
Mhm.
because of that
Mhm.
large break we needed to take.
Yeah, and because
On,
of COVID, I think we need more in person. People are like,
yeah.
I also teach Tantra Speed Date locally in KW.
You do?
Yeah, and people sometimes that's the first hug they've had in a few years,
Oh dear. Oh my gosh, my
right?
heart and my body. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
so needed. I couldn't agree. Yeah, it's yeah, in-person stuff. I'm beginning to wrap my head around wanting to do that too, to guide, in person and have women come together in person, couples come together in person. I don't know
yeah,
what that looks like for me yet, but I definitely want to do that too.
yeah, absolutely. So I'd love to know a little bit more what Tantra has done for you. What else? What else has it done for you? How's your life
Mm,
changed?
I can see, well, so having that spiritual aspect changed a lot for me. Um, I can see how through anything, through any difficulty and any joy, that it is my body that is there for me at all times. I can resource. I now know I have such a strong sense of resourcing in myself and tuning in to my body and what is needed, what and actually listening and actually taking note and saying, hey,
Mhm.
like what do I need? And then actually following through with that. That changes the way I move through the world. Um, how it I think this past year it really landed for me the idea of just being, being, period.
Being. And that is what
Like,
the feminine is
yeah, yeah,
being.
yeah,
Masculine, doing, feminine,
doing. And
being.
we're in like such a hyper masculine, society that doing is exhausting. And you can see the burnout, you can see the exhaustion, you can see the like dissatisfaction in people. So this past year, I've really landed that, like that's landed in my body, the being and the being with like whatever is happening is just happening.
Mm,
That just like it's like being in the flow of what is happening, being at peace with that. Yeah, that's something that has really clicked this year for me after so many years of wrapping my head around what is tantra doing for me, being with
beautiful.
and being as a feminine essence body. Mhm.
Mm. Which allows us to slow down, to be more
Yes,
present, to
yes,
be more connected, to have more intimacy,
yes.
to not project our own triggers onto
Mm-hmm,
others. So, which means our
mm-hmm,
relationships are better.
mm-hmm.
Or we can come back and go, I'm sorry, I actually realized I projected there and I was
Yeah,
triggered and have a repair.
that's
Yeah,
right.
it's just,
Yeah.
it's a slowing, a conscious
It's really
slowing.
the slowing down is huge, especially like I have three daughters and the speed of life, all the activities, all the play dates, all the birthday parties, and go, 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 go. But taking like life, this is contradictory, but it sounds contradictory, but when you slow down, so does time.
Mm.
It does. You're like, oh, I'm gonna take the full half hour. I'm gonna take the full hour and just be here. And man, like a whole lifetime can happen in just that hour. It's like amazing. It's so beautiful. It's
Yeah.
incredible.
And it's almost like
When
what
you,
fuels you to continue to the
yeah,
next hour,
yeah, yeah. It does. It's life-giving.
energizes you.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
life giving. That's so good. You said a word back there that I think we should break down. You said resourcing. How
Mm,
would you break down the word resourcing? Because that's important to break that down because I use that word a lot myself. I'm like, okay, what is resourcing?
yeah. Resourcing for me is the ability to be with all emotions. And if you find yourself getting out of the window of tolerance, meaning like you're either hyper aroused or hypo aroused, because something is putting you to a pre-state or something is getting you really upset and going
Mhm.
the other direction. Resourcing is the ability to like some small techniques that allow you to get back into the window of tolerance where you can calm your heart rate, calm your nervous system. So whether it's
Yeah.
deep breaths or removing yourself from the situation or finding a place that you feel really good in your body or even touching your body that feels really good, that's resourcing. And
Yeah.
so that's what resourcing does for me, and those are the things that I use to resource.
Absolutely. And I also use resourcing and grounding words interchangeably. And resourcing for me allows me, and you mentioned also window of tolerance there. So, window of tolerance, for people who don't know what that means, is you know how you can only hold so much and then you're done? When you're done, you've gone out of your window of
Yeah,
tolerance.
yeah.
Or when you've broken down into crying or screaming, you've gone out of your window of tolerance. You've gone too far. So, how do we hold and stay within it? And also, with practice, resourcing and grounding allows us to expand our window of tolerance. So, if our window of tolerance used to be, a few inches big, and then we lost our shit, or we're crying and we were, in bed, depressed, whatever it may be. Not that there's a problem with any of this. I'm just trying to give a whole range of emotion that can come out
Hmm,
really
hmm.
quickly out of this. We actually learn how to expand our window of tolerance to 12 inches or 24 inches and to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And what that means is we can hold more shit. This is the
Hmm.
perfect example. I held 5 moves in a fire because of my resourcing,
Yes, yes,
because of the years of work that I've done to learn to hold myself.
yes. That's a
And
very good
because I
point.
know how to bring in pleasure, to pleasure is a grounding, regulating tool. So because I know how to bring in pleasure, because I can feel my body is feeling antsy, I'm like, okay, I need a break. Okay, I need a nap. Okay, I need a massage. Okay,
Hmm.
I need a hug.
Hmm.
Um, and you learn how to ask for what you need. You also learn how to
Yeah,
go take care of yourself.
yeah.
So that is how I held 5 moves in a fire, along
Ye-
with a divorce, all at once. A few
Yes.
other things in there too, right?
Holy
It's
cow.
resourcing. It's learning how
Yeah.
to hold yourself. It's learning
Hmm.
how to listen to your body and to expand that window of tolerance to get it to be able to hold more, but also
That's right.
to be more present, to be more grounded, to be more regulated, right? Where I'm also using the tantric principles where I'm consciously aware of how I feel right now. And
Yeah,
I see my trigger and I see how that's not my job to actually spew out my trigger or vomit my trigger onto
hmm,
somebody else. That's mine to hold. Now, how do I need to go process that? Maybe I go
hmm.
pick a tool where I'm unleashing rage and anger and grief in a safe container so I can
Yeah.
get it out of my body, ground. Actually, what happens is when we're really triggered, we actually leave our frontal cortex. We're not in there anymore.
Nope.
That's why we're not talking and communicating well or doing well. So go get regulated, release what I need to release, come back into my center, come back into my frontal cortex, have a conversation with somebody where I need to, or take care of myself in a way that I need to. So
That's
it's a
right.
beautiful way
And
to
by the
go.
way, you might not know how, like I'm pretty good at knowing how I feel and knowing what's going on in my body, but it doesn't always happen immediately. So
Yeah, it
like
might be
it
after.
could be I might be asked so like what are you feeling right now? And I might not know yet. And I just have to be able to say that. And so yeah, if it's still a practice. It's like what am I feeling right now? I don't want to just answer um, for the sake of answering. I will take the time needed. And it doesn't even mean that I'm out of the window of tolerance. I might just not know. Like I might need to step away or take a day to think about or take an hour, whatever it is to
Journal,
process, like,
digest,
yeah,
verbally,
to
whatever it may
really
be,
understand what I'm feeling or what is happening in my body or so. Yeah,
or
that's
something else you
also,
might need.
yeah, yeah. So that's totally
Totally agree.
acceptable. Yeah.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. Is there anything else that you really feel near and dear on your heart that you want to share about what Tantra has done for you? Or does that feel really complete? What feels good?
Hmm. Well, it's opened me up to the mythology of like the Eastern mythology and all the goddesses and gods, and like using those as archetypes that I like. I never really engaged with mythology growing up, not even in like the Catholic religion that I grew up in. So being able to like read about it, engage with it, and then like try it on, try it on like it's like a little costume,
Mm.
and
See if it feels
play with the
aligned.
energy of this goddess or this archetype, and use that, like that's part of like the playfulness, and that's part of the learning for me, is like, oh, what aspect does this goddess bring out in me, and can I use it more, like can I just expand my edges of of my expression and of who I am by playing with these myths and archetypes and goddesses and gods.
Hmm.
So that was another element that was an introduction to me and that I'm still learning,
Beautiful.
which is really fun. That's a
Yeah.
fun part.
That's a beautiful part of Tantra, the spirituality. You mentioned it earlier, and bringing in the gods and goddesses, and it doesn't always happen right away, I don't find. Like it didn't for me. Like I kind of knew
Hmm.
it was there, but I
Yeah.
actually had to connect with it. And it was through sacred sexuality practices where I would connect with the gods and goddesses per se, and the
Yeah.
goddesses within me. And
Hmm.
then, that's the part of using Tantra as a spiritual practice to connect with universal gods and goddesses, like the
Yeah.
energy of the universe that is also within my own body
Yes,
and within
exactly.
yours and within everybody else who's listening. Like
Yeah.
it is already within us. This life force energy is within every single one of us
Hmm.
that is here on this planet, whether we're breathing or whether we're a tree or a plant or water. Like there is this life force energy within us. And that is the gods and goddesses. Like that
Yeah.
is universal energy. That is
Yeah.
consciousness. That is why we're here. That is what
Hmm.
is here. So, yeah, we get to play with that. And it's a little bit further sometimes on the journey, I find for some, not everybody, but it does come in because you have to taste it. You have to feel it. You have to find it
Yeah.
on your own. You can't be
Yeah.
taught it. It
Yeah.
is a practice. Tantric philosophies and principles and practices are a practice. So, you're coming
They
into
are.
this
Yeah.
practice in your everyday life while you're making dinner, while you're dancing in the kitchen, while you're
Yeah.
cleaning the house, while you're making love, and you're bringing these practices and philosophies in, and eventually you awaken into that universal consciousness, which
Yeah.
is so
That's
so
right.
so beautiful and so spiritual and
Yeah.
connected even more.
Yeah. Yeah. You're very eloquent. Thank you for,
Mm,
expressing that in such a beautiful way.
thank you.
Hmm.
Thank you. Yeah, it's so beautiful. So how can people find more about you, and where do you live on the interwebs and all that good stuff? And we'll drop the links in the
Um,
show notes too, but feel free to share.
sure. Yeah, my website is wonderlovecoaching.com, and my Instagram handle is at wonderlovecoach, and my name is
Beautiful.
Stephanie. Yeah.
Oh, yay, yay. That's so awesome. Love it. Wonder Love Coach. So perfect. Perfect. Well, thank you so, so much for joining me on this show and really diving into your story and how this worked for you. I think it's so important that we share, especially the numbness and the didn't feel
Yeah.
anything, because
Yes.
so many women that I work with say the same. So I
Yeah,
think it's really important to know that that is okay. That is where a lot of us start. And there's
that's
such a
right.
beautiful journey on the other side. So thank you.
Thanks so much for having me, Kim.
So welcome. Till next time, everyone.